I couldn't help but notice there were some really good shots of you throughout the series. There were a few that came in that were really fantastic. Can you talk to me about the photographers from the event?
Absolutely.
Or events?
I take photography very seriously. Very, very seriously. I make it a point to go out and tip and or pay in advance every photographer that comes in touch with me. It's been my makeup, and it's not just at vintage. It's at every motocross race for my kid. It's at other events. And the reason because is my father taught me years ago that when you take a picture, when you hear the shutter click, that picture is worthless. Give it a year or two, give it 10 years, give it 30 years.
That's right. It's
priceless. A blurry photo from the 70s is priceless in today's world. Sure and is. I also know from watching guys like yourself ruin equipment at motocross races, and
I went through about 3 or 4 cameras.
I know you have, and but equally important, it costs them the same effort to come. The photographers during this vintage event, just so you know, are nonprofit. They're not loading their photos up on a website for you to go pay $3 to $10 a copy a piece for. They do it out of the love of the sport.
Yeah.
And so for that, I want to thank, in no particular order, but the first photographer that really, really, really I noticed was called Sharon Bean, or Sharon's MX Photography, she calls herself. She's the wife of Bob Bean, who also races vintage motocross. He's a multi-time national champion, and I grew to love her. And she would take pictures, and Bob culls them out and might do a little editing on them, and then he posts them up on a Facebook page. And hundreds of pictures they post of everybody for you just to go grab.
That's the best way to do it.
It's just absolutely.
It's so less complicated.
Well, and it's just so nice of them to do that because it's an effort,
Were they watermarked or just straight?
No.
Yeah.
No, they're yours, and they don't worry about what you do with them. Mm-hmm. If it's on a billboard downtown, that's fine. If it's on a Facebook post, even better. It's all fine. I always make a note to give the photographers credits, though.
Sure.
If you see a lot of my Facebook posts of, it's not by law. I just do it out of respect. And a lady named Paula Kyle in New York took pictures of me while in New York. Again, made sure that she was compensated for her time. But more importantly, I'm traveling alone to these races. I don't have somebody like you following me around with a camera. I have to rely on these photographers to document.
And you just pick them up when you get there. It's not like who it's going to be. It's a lottery.
So, and to me, it's actually part of my quest for the day is to find that photographer.
And I love guys like you. Because you can make my weekend if there's 3 or 4 of you.
At the very least, I want to buy you a tank of gas. At the very least, I want to get you lunch on the way out.
Sometimes that's all we're asking for is a tank of gas.
And I make sure that happens. And so Paula took care of my needs in New York. Sharon traveled with Bob, so she would catch me at every race.
Cool.
The last guy I want to mention, his name's Bobby Hedge. And Bobby, I would only get the pleasures of Bobby when I was in the Midwest, Texas.
Bobby's on the wall behind us here?
Bobby did that poster, yes.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
Bobby's in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, places like that where I'd run into Bobby. Well, when I first met Bobby, I saw Bobby, and it was really cool because 2 things noticed about Bobby. 1, he had a big old camera hanging around his neck. Mm-hmm. I saw that. 2, he's riding a 1972 Honda Gold Z50 mini bike, which was my first ever mini bike, identical to Bobby's. And I'm like, who is that? So my friend Timmy Boardfield says, he's a great photographer, and he's part of the rocket ship racing team. And Jerry, he is such a good photographer. When he takes your picture, you can tell if your bike needs work on it or not.
Wow. And
I'm like, really? And he says he's the absolute best. Well, it turns out I meet Bobby, compliment him on his mini bike, slip him some cash, and said, dude, please document wherever you see me because it's important to me, and let me do anything for you I can. And he did.
And it was a crisp image.
Oh, he's so good. He is so good. And so, I can't thank all the photographers now. But there's an unsung hero, as you've mentioned before, of photographers out there. It's every single person out there with a cell phone in their hand pointing that camera.
I know.
Some of the footage that we've gained to document what we've done is come out of somebody's crappy cell phone looking through a barbed wire fence, and it's the best.
I wish we could take all that content
Yep.
and just suck it up into a cloud and then have it all there in a timeline
Well,
from each event.
and it'd be amazing, and it's kind of weird, but the world's kind of headed that way.
I know.
But back to this little micro bubble that I live in called vintage motocross. The photographers are everything to me. Absolute everything.